places my body hadn't sold. Many miles away, I could start a perfect story, find myself and find out glory. This deceptive world, giving me the sign, giving me the sign. Giving me the sign, giving me the sign.
Welcome everybody to the Sci-Fi Queen podcast, where we explore the female characters in science fiction television shows, movies, books, art, comic books, and anywhere female characters are depicted. If you are new to our channel, we ask that you hit that subscribe and notification bell. That'll help our channel grow and it'll let you know when our show is coming up on a live show. If you want to support our channel, please take a look at our merch. The web address for our merch store is right there scrolling at the bottom, and it's also in the description of each or every one of our shows. Okay, I am your host Nita, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the Queen of Darkness, Sarah. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to maybe rain. I'm getting excited. We haven't had rain in we haven't had any rain in almost a month. So, yeah, we need it.
Definitely rain is needed. We did have a guest scheduled for tonight, but unfortunately, they're stuck at the airport flying back from Florida and not able to join us. Their flight got changed, but we are definitely going to be having him back at another time for sure, because he's one of my favorite comic book authors. Hello. Yes. I absolutely need to have him on. But tonight we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, which takes place starting September 15th to November 15th. We're going to be discussing tonight the wonderful actors that are Hispanic and Latinx that have been in science fiction shows or movies. So we are going to get started with the party.
Yes.
Let's get talking about someone we all know who has been an icon in television. And I think we know him for so many different roles that he's played. And we're talking about the one and only Ricardo Montalban. He was Khan in Star Trek, the original series. His role was so impactful, even though it was one episode in the original series. It was so impactful. It was so good. It had such an impact in Star Trek that an entire movie was made around his character. So, Sarah, talk to me about, by the way, guys, Tiffany might be joining us later. She'll probably hop on later, but she's working hard. So let's keep some good thoughts for her as she works hard, take care of her family. But Sarah, talk to me about the first time you saw the episode where he was at in the original series versus the movie.
Well, and I thought I was like, who is this guy? I mean, I knew he would. I think I'd seen the movie before I actually saw the episodes. I know that's backwards, but
that's okay.
I remember, and we still lived in California when I saw this movie, because I know that every day before school I had a little bit of time, and this is going to sound super geeky, but I popped in episode 3, or not episode 3, but you know what I mean, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. I put that episode, that VHS in, and watched it for a little bit every morning before I walked to school, because I had a little bit of time after I ate breakfast to watch something. So I watched that. So that was, and to know what was going on with that movie, I had to have seen this one. And then, I think we were 8 when we moved to Idaho. And then after school, when I got home, then the original series was on. It was on syndication at 4:00 in the afternoon there. And I think that I knew this Khan before I knew that Khan. And
yes.
It was kind of strange to see him this crazy kind of Khan and bitter and then going back to the other one. Does that make sense? That
Absolutely,
he
because
only he
yeah,
almost seemed very um kind of not as off his rocker. Obviously,
yeah,
obviously Khan was always crazy, but I mean that comes with the genetic alterations and all that. But he almost seemed reasonable in the episode, if that makes sense, in my opinion. The,
absolutely, it makes sense because he was very angry, very vengeful in the movie itself because
yes,
of what he had experienced, what he had lost, what he had went through. He thought it was all intentional,
yeah,
and I thought it was interesting that they made this female historian suddenly, a starship needs a historian, and
yeah,
they have this in those times. I just don't see how that fit, but they had one,
yeah,
and she falls in love with him. She is completely taken by him, and she leaves with them,
yeah,
but because they're in the wrong planet, they were not
yeah.
put in the planet that Kirk thought it was. There was no way to communicate with them. A typical Starfleet, no one went back to check. Uh,
Right, and
these
they
people,
even they mentioned that in lower decks that like that was the thing that they talked about making
Mhm.
second contact because it's nice for these flagships to make first contact on all these planets and all these things to happen, but
Yes,
then what happens after that?
exactly,
And I
and
mean,
that's something that you see throughout Star Trek history from the beginning, where there isn't a second contact, where there isn't. Let me follow up with this culture that we've
yeah,
impacted and that we've helped. There's none of that happening, right? And
yeah, and
that's what
like if
happened with
somebody had
him.
come back to check on them,
They would have
maybe all the
known.
things, yeah, all
They
the
would have
things that
known they were in
happened
the
wouldn't have
wrong
happened.
planet. Yes, they would
Yeah.
have known they're in the wrong planet. They would have taken them out, brought them to the right planet, and maybe
Hmm.
given them supplies. Who knows if the historian would have even survived?
Yeah.
Because the
And
only
then
reason they survived was because they were altered.
I was saying, and in that light, the historian might have always been there because, like on the Enterprise D, they were always like finding departments and stuff, like all the girls that Picard
Yeah.
dated or had interest in, always worked in these weird. Well, they always worked in these weird science departments that we never
Yes,
heard
they
of until they were
did.
suddenly there. You know, um, but it's one of those things that they probably did have one. She just wasn't
Mhm.
highlighted until that episode, and then she
Yes.
ran off with the bad
Yes.
guy, and it
Now,
just.
now, being that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to say that him being on Star Trek was huge for the Latino community and the Hispanic
Hmm.
community because it was the first time that we have been depicted in space. But
Hmm.
he was not playing a Latino character at all.
No.
His character was completely different. He was doing a completely different character. But the fact that this very well known actor at the time
Hmm.
um, was I in a show like Star Trek, where we had not been really depicted. It was huge,
Yes.
and it was a very kind of a starting point. And just like Star Trek, always doing something to shake the status quo.
Yes.
I love that about Star Trek, and I think that he kind of paved the way for the other actors that we're going to be talking about tonight,
Hmm.
in the Latino and Hispanic community, because even though he didn't play a Latino in Star Trek, he in fact was, a
Yeah.
Latino. He is from Spain, or was, because I believe he passed away. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved him. Like, I watched Fantasy Island because I knew him from Star Trek, and I said,
Okay.
"Oh, he's Khan. I gotta watch Khan on Fantasy Island." So I followed his career because of that one episode. But
Hmm.
that one episode has such an impact in Star Trek that they made it into an entire movie. Like, that's pretty huge.
Yes.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think that there's been a few times in Star Trek where one episode or two episodes, like the Borg, they got an entire movie, and
Yeah.
but the Borg has had quite a few episodes throughout Star
Yeah.
Trek, right? And
Yeah.
they've got a movie. But he had one episode, literally one episode. I
Yeah, and then
can't
he got a
remember a
movie.
moment. I can't remember another episode that happened to in Star Trek. How about you?
Um, no, he got his movie, but then I mean, it wasn't the first time that we saw his people though, because remember there was I there was there was another one. I can't remember if it was somebody's I don't remember which trek it was, but there were augments and assume were in another episode, and then and they were the descendants from his people or something, and then I know that we've seen, and then we have with Laan now we've
Hmm.
he's brought that back. His legacy continues. Is all I was getting to. Is that
Yes. Oh,
yeah that
absolutely. But my thing is that having an episode where an actor
yeah
or a character
made such
impacts
an
a
impact.
show that it made a movie and only had one episode, that's pretty impressive, I think.
Yes.
As far as science fiction is concerned.
Well, it's like
And
it made it liked his story so much that
absolutely.
he needed more room to grow and expand.
Yes. I think that, his story is one that could have even been told in Star Trek Enterprise, because we
Yeah.
could have taken it back that
Yeah.
with maybe not him per se, maybe not, but I think that the storyline of Khan is something that could definitely use more airtime,
Yeah.
and I know that the Kelvin timeline redid the whole Khan story,
Yeah.
changed it up a little bit. And some people had issue with the actor. I did not, because I think that
No, I liked it.
I think actors play other characters and other races all the time. And as long as you're
Yeah.
doing it with dignity, and then I think it's okay. And I think that he did a
Yeah.
wonderful job in the
Well,
Kelvin
and
timeline as Khan.
and Khan's character, I mean, we expect it to be Ricardo
Mhm.
Montalban, but
Yeah.
in essence, it's a character, and anybody can play that character. I mean, it
Yes.
just depends, like you said, how if they honor the memory and treat it right and
Exactly.
approach it right. And I mean, it was a whole new timeline, so we can have whoever we want. And I mean,
Exactly.
I actually really liked the way that they handled it.
Hmm.
I liked it, and they
I
kind
did
of
too,
they
because
kind
the
of flipped
cover
the script a little
timeline,
bit.
yeah, the cover timeline is different to begin with. So I
Right.
thought that changing it around like the way they did was a good idea. And they criticized the actor because Khan technically is of a more Middle Eastern, supposedly background. But Mikhailo Montalban wasn't Middle Eastern either, and
Right.
no one criticized him. And I thought that that was unfair to the actor in the COVID timeline, because I think he did a great job. I think that,
Yeah.
again, in there are plenty of Middle Eastern actors that could have played that part, that they could have had played that part. Yes,
Yeah.
however, they didn't, and he did a good job with it.
Yeah.
And you know. That's not on him that they didn't choose the character and actor of
Yeah.
the background. That is on the producers and those in charge. Um, and that change needs to come there, because
Yeah.
I can understand maybe during um, the original series time, maybe not having enough actors that they could have gone to that could have played that part. But in
Right.
today's day and age, I can name a few actors that could have played that part that could have been more on the Middle Eastern side.
Right.
Bashir could have played that part. The actor who plays Bashir, Dr. Bashir,
Yeah.
could have played that part. That would have
Yeah.
not been an issue at all. But they didn't, and that's, you can't change it. It's done, right? It's the
Yeah.
movie is set in stone, it's done. But I think the actor did a wonderful job, just
Yes.
like I think Ricardo Montalban owned that scene.
Yeah.
He was such an iconic actor, so sexy and powerful. I thought he was pretty amazing. But let's
Hmm.
go on to our next one. And of course, we can't talk about Hispanic Heritage Month without talking about Robert Beltran, who played Chakotay in Star Trek Voyager, another actor who played a
Like,
character that was different than he was, but did it
yeah,
really well. Robert Beltran is Mexican American, and he sort of played a character that wasn't in his ethnic group because he played a Native American. But one can argue that Mexican Americans are technically Native Americans as well,
yes.
depending on the region. So there's that, that
It's
gray
a
line.
gray area.
It's
Yeah,
a
gray
gray
area.
area when it comes to his character right there. But I thought it was fantastic, that they had him as a first officer. I think that the scripts could have been the episodes that he was centered in could have been written better. I think that they
Yeah,
just kind of didn't give their all to his character, and I think that that made that disillusion in him to not want
yeah.
to give more. I mean, what do you think about Chakotay's character and the writing and the storylines that they gave him?
That don't hate on me, but I kind of that's kind of how I felt about Voyager. I know that most of Voyager was great, but like a lot of it, sometimes when they centered on other characters other than you know their main thing, and like even the episodes that steered away from Janeway were like kind of blah. Does that make sense? That
Yes, yes.
they just didn't, and that's and not, and it may have been the writing at the time. There may have been a strike. Who knows what was going on, but I didn't feel the same pull I felt with like Next Gen and DS9,
Yeah,
and
I
that
understand.
like I was
If it
so
was
excited to see.
Janeway, if it was Janeway or Seven of Nine, you knew those episodes were gonna blow off the hook.
Right.
But whenever they featured anyone else, it was very lacking. And one of the things that with Star Trek Voyager was really a sad thing to find out is that they hired someone who was quote unquote an expert, who was supposed to be Native American and supposed to give insight on Chakotay, that character. So, and you can tell when he's doing the rituals and the different experiences he has, he's kind of like all over the place. And
Yeah.
it's because if it was later discovered that he was not Native American, he
Oh,
lied.
Jesus.
Talk about
Yeah.
not vetting the people you hire, Voyager,
Yeah. No
on Star
kidding.
Trek. I think they do a better job now because of that, because they got a lot of slack because of it. But
Yeah.
it was really something exciting. I was excited to see a Latino in space because
Mm,
until this moment, these moments where Chakotay was really playing his part, and in Voyager was the first time you saw Latino actors playing Latino characters.
hmm
Um, we were
They
not
weren't
in
playing.
space. We weren't in space.
They weren't playing other characters.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I agree with you. The writing lacked a lot, but I don't think that that's the actor's fault. I think
No,
actors do what
they
they
did what.
can with what they're given.
Yep. Exactly
you
that.
know and we can't talk about Latinos in space without talking about
Mm,
Roxanne Dawson, who played Belana Torres. She is actually Mexican American as well.
hmm
And what I loved about her character is that although she's playing half Klingon, the other half of her was Latina. So we're starting to slowly see more Latinos in space. And
Yep.
I'm like, I'm gonna take the half and I'm running with it.
Oh,
I'm
I
running with
love
it
it.
because I'm like, we got to be in space because, hello, we
Yeah.
exist. You're not going to erase us from
No.
existence. And tell me about this character. How did you like her character or didn't like her character?
No, I liked her character. I thought that she was. I had a lot of issues with Voyager. It just after Next Gen and DS9, it just kind of seems sometimes it seems, and I know this is because this is the way they did it, but they just kind of seem slapped together. But that the conflict between the Maquis and the Federation officers, that always kind of bothered me a little bit. But I mean, it is what it is, and that was part of the story. But
I felt they
I
didn't
know,
address it enough. I
yeah,
felt
it
like
just kind of
they
like
expected these Maquis to just be
to just
chill with wearing a uniform and
yeah, and she at least was able to express that more than anybody else, I think. But that's because
yes.
she's a Klingon and she got her way. And it's my Klingon, it's my temper. I'm sorry, it's my Klingon and Latina temper. I just can't handle
Yes,
it.
that's exactly.
Um, I think that she graded on it more than anyone else. Just you know what I mean. But and I liked her. I liked that she was in charge. I liked that you know that was nice to see a female in charge of a department. And
Yes.
that wasn't medical. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It just like
And yes, she was an engineer, and I think that
yes,
engineers are the key to building society.
yes,
Captain Joe says
yes.
here from the Captain Squadron that she is the best, and I agree.
Hmm.
I thought that she was one of the best characters. I think that her conflict between her Klingon and human side was strong, and I love the fact that they brought in some of that Latin culture, not too much, but they
Yeah.
kind of brought it in. There were little things that were said here and there that you're like, oh, I recognize that. If you're Latino, you're like,
Hmm.
oh, I recognize that. And I think that they were kind of trying to kind of pave the way, so to
Yeah.
speak. And I thought she did an amazing job with it. Then we have this beauty. Oh my God, I love this woman, how statuesque.
Oh yes.
Gina Torres as Zoe Washburn in Firefly. She was so amazing. She's an amazing actress, and she is aging like fine wine. Okay, she's gorgeous, and she struggles a lot in Hollywood getting roles that are made for Latinas, because Hollywood has this vision of what a Latino should look like. Should look like J Lo. We don't all look like J Lo because we come in
No.
different colors with different, hair texture and features. We are a mixed race to begin with. So we come in different flavors. And she's had to play a lot of African American roles because Hollywood won't, just won't cast her. And I think that, she's amazing. Gina Torres is an amazing actress. I think she did a
Mhm.
great job in Firefly. I
Yes.
absolutely love her. Talk to me about Gina Torres.
I loved Firefly all around, and I loved her. She was amazing. She, sassy and stubborn, and I really liked that. But I don't think that Firefly got enough time. But that's
Me too. We need to bring Firefly back. We need more time with it. I think it could have had
yeah,
a few more seasons.
yeah.
Absolutely. Captain Quadrant has a question. Joe says, was she married to Lawrence Fitchburg? I believe so. I believe she still is married to him. And yeah, that's a fantastic show. It was had a beautifully diverse cast of females and
Yes.
males and
Hmm.
Latinos, and it just did a great cast. And I thought that the storylines were wonderful.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate that Hollywood didn't see her and saw a Latina and said, hey, let's put her up and give her a Latin character, a Hispanic character, because they have this image of what we should look like that isn't true.
Yeah.
So I have cousins that look so different than I am, that are really
Mhm.
fair skinned, that are really dark skinned. And it really is a dichotomy that I don't think Hollywood understands at this point.
Yeah. If you don't fit the cookie cutter, then you don't fit. Yeah.
Exactly. Claudia. Hello,
Yeah.
Claudia. From Calling Up
Hello.
Justice. You need to follow her. She's awesome. She says Gina is a queen. Yeah, Gina Torres is a queen. Hello. I love her so much.
Oh, I'm gonna highlight her next comment. I
Yes.
did not. I did not know that. What?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. You didn't know that? Let me read it
No.
because we're now on Spotify. So let's read it for those who are listening. Did you know
Yes.
that Serenity Universe is the same as Alien Universe? Yeah, I kind of thought it was, but thank you, Claudia, for bringing that to clarification and kind of solidifying that because I saw the similarities, but I wasn't 100% sure about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so talk to me about Gina Torres.
Um, I mean, I wish that we could see her more and see
Absolutely.
her see her play the role that she wants to play and not just what they say is okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think though, as we go through the actors and we're gonna see the growth. Just hang in there, guys. Just hang in there. We have Michelle Rodriguez as
Hmm.
Rain Ocampo in Resident Evil. You see, she gets to portray, which she is Latina, and she gets to portray Latina in a
Yes.
sci-fi, which I think is wonderful. But I think this is what Hollywood thinks when they say, "Oh, we're going to have a Hispanic character or Latina character." This is the image they get in their heads, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because you have actresses like Zoe Saldana and Gina Torres. That don't look like a Michelle Rodriguez, and she's beautiful. Michelle Rodriguez is beautiful. She's a talented
Hmm.
actress, but she is not what every one of us look like. You know, and I liked her in Resident Evil. I thought that she plays the tough girl really well. What do you think?
Oh yeah, and I like her, and Leah really likes her in the first Avatar movie. That
Oh yes,
she was a helicopter pilot, and Trudy was her character in Avatar, and Leah loves her, and I just think she plays a lot of strong characters. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen her play a whimpering, sad, you know what I mean? She's very strong, and I mean, I guess she would get to pick what she wants to be because
yeah,
that's kind of
exactly.
the glory of being an actress. You get to pick the roles you want to do, and
Hmm.
maybe these roles just suit her better,
Yes.
um, more with her personality, or it's just easier to be a badass if you are a badass. I don't know.
Exactly. But let's go on to our
Go ahead.
next character. I absolutely love this actress, Rosa Salazar. She
Mhm.
plays Alma Winogaf Diaz in a animated series on, I believe, Amazon Prime called Undone. If you have not watched it, absolutely watch it. The animation is so precise to the character who's playing it. And they travel through time. It really needs more seasons. This show,
Oh,
but I
I've not heard of it. I've
oh
not. I'll
she
add
but
it to my list.
absolutely add it to your list. She's so wonderful, and I love and this entire sci-fi is with tons of Latinos actors in it. And I picked Rosa Salazar because she's the main character. But they have a sister. She has a sister, a mom, a grandma. A father. All of these characters are Latinos in the future,
Hmm.
and I love the fact that all of these characters that are being portrayed all look different. I love that about this show because it is portraying the diversity of being Hispanic. And I thought that that was really beautiful. If you haven't seen it, you definitely um, need to see it. It's very, very humane kind of animation. Like you almost forget you're looking at animation.
Oh,
It's
that's
so
good.
realistic. It's so incredibly realistic. It almost doesn't seem like it's animated, which is really
Hmm.
interesting to me. And then we have Zoe
Hmm.
Saldana as Uhura in Star Trek, the new movies in the Kelvin
Of the
timeline.
timeline. Yep.
And like Gina Torres, she has a hard time getting parts that are Hispanic and Latino centered, because they look at her and they say, well, she doesn't fit the Michelle Rodriguez look,
Yeah.
so she doesn't get cast for them. But I think she did a pretty good job as Uhura. Personally, I think that with all the wonderful African American um, actresses out there, they could have picked someone to play such an iconic character as Uhura, who was African American.
Mhm.
However, Zoe Saldana is Afro Latina, and I guess it's a gray area, right?
Yeah.
But I think that she did a wonderful job. I think that she's a pretty good actress. I like her. What do you think? You did you
Oh, I
see
love.
the Calvin
I.
timeline?
Oh yeah, I've seen all the Kelvin timelines. I was working at Burger King when the first movie came out, and I got the cups and the display. Um, yeah, it's somewhere in storage. Um, I really liked her, and I really like the other, the other characters that she's played, in Gamora, and then in Avatar again, she was Natiri. That was very different, and I really liked that. I mean,
Oh
you
yes.
don't see her anyways, but I mean, she plays a good alien. I mean, she does.
Exactly.
Um,
She is. She's all covered
she,
in makeup. I believe
yeah,
that wasn't exactly
CGI. It
them
was motion
in,
cap.
that was
It was
CGI,
motion
right?
capture. Yes, motion
Motion
capture
capture.
CGI. Yeah,
Hmm.
because they had all the little dots all over them. So they did
Exactly.
the body work, but yeah, and then they took
Mhm.
their face pictures of their faces and morphed it or whatever they do.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I
I
mean,
do have to say that I'm
go
a
ahead.
big I've always been a big fan of Uhura, from the original series. I love that
Yes.
actress, and to see a Latina play her, I kind of felt a little conflicted because I feel like there's tons of African American actresses that could play this
Hmm.
part. However, oh, we're getting to play an iconic character, so I
Yeah.
felt kind of like I'm in that kind of gray area about it, you
Well, it's like,
know?
and but I liked Zoe Saldana because I had seen her before the Star Trek movies. I'd seen her in Colombiana, and it was amazing.
Yes.
Have you seen that one?
Yes,
It's
she was
it's
fantastic.
she's a badass. Yeah, and
Mhm.
that was. It's not a sci-fi movie, but it was
It was a good
powerful.
movie. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
powerful. Absolutely. And I love the fact that she played a part, a Latina part, and
Hmm.
they cast a Latina for it, which is
Yeah.
amazing to me.
Mm, yeah.
And then
Didn't
we
get
have,
whitewashed. Yep.
ah, my love, my heart and soul right here, Wilson Cruz, who plays Dr. Colbert in Star Trek Discovery.
Hmm.
I'm gonna let you go first because I will never shut up. Go on, girl.
I really like him. I like his bedside manner. I like the way that he plays the doctor. Just
Yes.
that, even when he has to one on one, and even when he was struggling, and even when he was struggling with his own demise, and coming back from all that, it just, it was really, and especially in the final was it the final season? I think it was the final season, where he reached out to his abuela, and it was the computer making, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Let me tell you
Um,
about that moment, okay?
yeah.
Um, this was the first time that I personally had seen a Puerto Rican in space. And
Hmm.
as a Puerto Rican, and when he was talking to the hologram of his grandmother, and
Hmm.
he's like, I want the recipe for mofongo. I almost cried because I said, we made it to space and we
Yeah.
brought mofongo with us. Yes, you have to understand, with Puerto Rican culture, food is part of our culture in a
Hmm.
huge way. Okay, when someone says, "Hey, Sarah, you want to come over some Puerto Rican food?" You are special in their life. That is
Hmm.
not something that is just a free for all.
Yeah.
It takes hours to make some of the foods that we eat, and it takes a lot of work. And mofongo is something that takes a lot of work, and it may not seem like it, but it does take a lot of work. And for him to say, I want to make this for my partner, my husband, who's not Latino, and I want to bring this to him, and I want to make it nice and special because he likes my grandma's mofongo, and he's talking to her in Spanish, and he sounds like the Puerto Ricans that I grew up with in Puerto Rico, and we
Hmm.
made it into space. And I'm like, we
Yay!
didn't disappear. It was the most intensely emotional moment when I heard him say that. I actually had to pause it and kind of just take it a minute to absorb that, because it was huge. As a huge sci-fi nerd who has watched sci-fi since I was 5 and never really seen a
Hmm.
person who identified as a Puerto Rican, um, in space, this was a huge moment. Um, and I just absolutely love that Star Trek started to make those changes, and say what you will about Discovery, it has opened doors and has made representation for. I don't know that they haven't represented someone in Star Trek Discovery. I
Right.
don't think they missed the beat, and they were able to
No.
create a good show and represent so much. It,
Well,
it
yeah,
was,
well, and then you got to think about it too. That the future isn't going to be all the same. You know,
yeah,
there's going to be diversity. There has to be, because if there
yes.
isn't, then we're going to die out. So
Mhm.
we need to keep our diversity. Yeah.
Yes,
Anyways.
Claudia says that Wilson Cruz is a classy man to his fans, and yes, he
Uh-huh.
is. The things that people say about him that who have met him, is always positive, is always nice. He is just such a sweetheart. He does a lot of social justice work. Claudia also points that out, and that is very true. He does a lot of work for the LGBTQIA plus
Hmm.
community, um, which is so special. I think he is just a beautiful soul. I think the character he played it with such passion and such kindness, and the love that he showed towards his grandma. That's a real thing with us Puerto Ricans. We love our grandmas. Like, we
Hmm.
will say grandma and then mom, dad, and everybody else. Like, grandma is a tie, because Puerto Rican grandmas spoil their babies rotten. Okay. And I missed my grandmother so much. She was my best friend. And to see the interaction that he had with this hologram, I said, oh, if what I would give to have a hologram of my grandmother.
Right.
And I love that moment that she had with him, and she kept it real with him. It's like, oh no, that's replicated mofongo. I'm a doctor, because she was, a woman of, she had a career of her own, and she knew
Yeah.
how long these recipes take to make. So I thought it was hilarious that she reveals to him that it was replicated.
That's like the like grandma spaghetti and it's actually ragu or something. Yeah,
Yes.
it's like, wait, what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Then we have the heartthrob of Latino characters, Santiago Cabrera, Captain Christopher Rios in Star Trek Picard. I'm actually watching him in this non-sci-fi. I believe it's an Amazon Prime, and it's mostly in Spanish. Eva Longoria is in it, and it's kind of
Hmm.
like a romance. And he is just like, ooh, caliente. Talk to me about Captain Cristobal Rios.
Heartthrob. He was
Oh,
amazing. And my favorite is when all the different versions of him, the holograms, yeah, the holograms.
yes.
Then they're like all his different personalities, and they all had like different accents, and they all had different attitudes. And I was like, oh, okay, boy, okay.
He's extremely talented.
Yes.
He's an extremely talented actor who, again, brought a Latino character played by Latino, and he's a captain of his ship. And I absolutely loved his character. I was not a fan of how he stayed behind in the past. Um,
Yeah.
but I like the fact that they gave him a good life, that they said that he
Yeah.
lived to old age, which I can appreciate that for him. But I
Yeah.
thought his character was so amazing. And then we have this character, Carlos. Let me say his last name slowly because it was a tongue twister even for me. His name is Carlos Alaraski. He's Admiral Buena Amigo in Star Trek Lower Decks. And what I love about this is that the actor is Latino and the animated character is Latino.
Hmm.
Talk to me about the bad Merle because you know he bad.
Yeah. He's we love to hate him because he
Yes.
is crazy. Yeah. I look forward to I look forward to Lower Decks. I like it. Um. Yes, it's more relaxed. It's more fun, but I like that.
Yeah, it's
It's
the comedy side uh of Star
yeah.
Trek.
Well, and you can't imagine that everything is going to be prim and proper and all about the bridge. I mean, I want to know what's going on in the rest of the ship. I do,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I like that they didn't fudge on his character. That he is his character, and
Hmm.
that I mean he's not really a great guy though. I
No,
mean,
he's not. But I like the fact that they got this. Um, with Star Trek, they always give you, not every Federation person is a good person, and I think that that is what one of the things this character represents is that yeah, not every Federation, admiral is going to be a good person, and
yeah.
and I think that that's what he represents, and I love the fact that again, Star Trek Discovery, excuse me, yeah, Star Trek Discovery, just like Star Trek Lower Decks, is very diverse, very
Hmm.
inclusive, very inclusive. Now, the next
Yeah.
character is going to surprise some of you who don't know who plays this character. Um, Riley Alaraski, the daughter of
Of the
Carlos,
bad mouth.
plays Rock Tongue in Star Trek Prodigy. She is so sweet. I didn't even realize that it was a girl who played Rock Tongue. It took me a while to realize that I think Rock Tongue might be female
Yeah.
because of how the animation is. It's something that I really wasn't too sure of, and I still am not sure of. But I love the character. I think she's such a great Raktung is such a great character. What do
Yeah.
you think of the character?
Oh, I love Rock Tuck. She's amazing, and I think I figured out that she was a girl. I think at some point, I think it was when they were in the time bubble thing, and she had to learn all the skills because she was moving the slowest, so that she could take the time to fix things, and it just was. I think it was. I don't know. I really like her, and that she's willing to learn, and that everybody thinks that, oh, she's a bruiser, but she's not. She's science and
No,
engineering
she's so
and
smart. She's such a
yeah.
smart character. Yes, absolutely. And leave it to Star Trek to just have such a diverse characters, even in their animation.
Hmm.
Because even though this is an animation, this is not as funny as Lower Decks. They have their
Oh no, it's
moments,
a little
but
more
it's a more
serious.
serious animation for
Yes.
sure. And I love the fact that Star Trek has included us, that Star Trek has made it possible for us to be seen in the future. That's a huge thing because anyone who is Latino, Hispanic, Latino, who watches science fiction can tell you we, as much as we love it, we did not see ourselves in the future. And we often wondered to ourselves, well, will we make it to the future? What happened
Yeah.
to us? Um, so these
Yeah, that's not
characters,
good.
bringing them, yeah, absolutely, bringing that representation is so important. Bringing that representation is so necessary. Um, and celebrating the achievements of Hispanic and Latinos is important because there are many people out there that think that we have not contributed, and we have. And one of the things you're going to be doing tonight is talking about an
Hmm.
amazing Hispanic sciences. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Oh, let me put it back up for you. Take it
Okay.
away, Sarah.
So this is Olga Gonzalez Sanabria. Is that right?
Yep, Sanabria.
Sanabria. She's born, raised, and educated in Puerto Rico. Olga was destined to become an engineer as she took an interest in math and science early on in her life. During her high school career fair in the 1970s, she was taken by the idea of helping to solve the energy crisis and soon joined the ranks of the few women studying engineering at the University of Puerto Rico. After earning her bachelor's degree in chemical engineering in 1978, Olga accepted a position at the NASA Lewis Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio. She earned her master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Toledo in 1985. Olga began her NASA career in 1979, researching energy storage techniques for space in the electrochemistry branch of the Solar and Electrochemistry Division. She and her colleagues worked to advance nickel hydrogen fuel cells, a new type of battery that offered improved performance. They made key advances in improving the separators that isolate oxidation and reduce voltage loss. She contributed to over 30 technical papers and is the co-patentee on a separator technology for alkaline batteries. In 1988, she was part of the group that received an R&D 100 award for long cycle life nickel hydrogen batteries. She also collaborated with Patricia O'Donnell and Robert Cataldo to study various battery and fuel cell options for radio stope thermometric, sorry, these are big words, generators to power potential Mars rovers. Her technical contributions helped to enable the International Space Station's power system. In 1990, Gonzalez Zambria moved into the Space Experiments Division in Space Technology Branch and was designing experiments requiring testing in space. She served as the group's liaison to the headquarters Office of Aeronautics and Space Technologies. In 1993, she was awarded the Exceptional Service Medal for her outstanding development and coordination work in this capacity. Ogle officially transitioned from research to management in 1995 with her appointment as the center's executive officer, a position she held until the end of her service in 2011. In 2002, hold on, I just scrolled away. Um, Olga was appointed to senior rank and named director of the Systems Management Office at NASA's Glenn Research Center, thus becoming the highest ranking Hispanic person at NASA's Glenn Research Center. She retired in December 2011 with 32 years of NASA service. In addition to her professional accomplishments, she was an active mentor for both students and mid-career professionals. And
Excellent.
without her, the space station wouldn't be possible because her
Wow.
technology run is in the batteries that allow them to function and stay up there.
So we're not only in space, but you're
We're
in space
in.
because of us. There
Yes,
you go. There you
there you
go.
go.
There you go, people. But we're gonna go right into our next segment. I have been excited to do this segment, so let's get into it. All right, so I have this amazing sci-fi book recommendation. Now, before I read to you because I always write my review down. Before I read to you, I have to give you a little backstory. When I ordered this book, I thought I was ordering the English edition of the book. But what didn't realize was that I ordered the Spanish edition of the book. And I got it, and I was like, well, I read Spanish, it's not a problem. But I've never read science fiction in Spanish. And there's a lot of sci fi words I have never heard in Spanish. Because even when we grew up in Puerto Rico, when we watched anything sci-fi, back in the
It's all
80s,
in
or
English.
actually back in
Yeah.
the 70s, the show would be translated in Spanish. But
Okay.
there was a station on the radio you would put on, and you would lower your volume of your TV, and they would give the English. So we would
Okay.
always listen to it in English, regardless. So I never actually learned certain words in science fiction, and I said, this is gonna be interesting, and I had a really good time learning those words. Okay,
That's
now,
cool.
yes, trance or trance was written by Pedro Cavilla, a Puerto Rican sci-fi author. This is this sci-fi story that goes through artificial technology. The characters seem to travel to time within their own life and relive moments of grief, love, violence, and even horror. The writer's description of what is going on and the conversations the main characters are having are comical, and the journey is enjoyable. I laughed throughout this entire read, let me tell you. Okay, it is so much fun. The writer also provides a hyper realistic portrayal of the life of people in Puerto Rico. And not only is this sci fi written by a Puerto Rican, but he centers the writing and the storyline in Puerto Rico. Okay, this is so amazing to me. As someone who has was raised in Puerto Rico, I can say that with certainty that the writer gives an almost 100% accurate description of Puerto Rican life, from how the characters express themselves to the experiences that they have on the island. And I absolutely love reading this book, and the journey it took the characters through. The writer makes you feel as if you are the one experiencing this journey. You really feel connected to the characters that the writer has written, and it is really enjoyable. And the journey that they go through, reliving these experiences, not knowing what's happening, kind of like the Groundhog's Day, and you kind of realize, oh, wait, I'm repeating the day. They don't realize what's happening until they do. And it's
Oh.
really amazing. And I think that if you want to read it in Spanish, that'll be great. If you don't, they do have the English version on Amazon. Pedro Cavilla, he is not just a sci-fi writer, but an established poet and filmmaker. And you can follow him on social media on Instagram, right there. And he is pretty amazing. And I am very impressed with his writing. And quite frankly, I was so happy that I enjoyed his book, because it would have been sad not to. I don't do bad reviews. If I don't like a book, I don't recommend it. I don't talk about it. I only
Yeah.
talk about the books I enjoy. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I really hope I like this book. I did
Especially,
have a maternity
especially
leave.
since you had to read it in Spanish.
Exactly. But there were moments when I was reading that I actually had to use Google Translate, because I'm going, what? I like UFO. They don't put UFO in Spanish. They have their own acronym that makes sense when you say those unidentified flying objects in Spanish. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what is UNVI? What is UNVIs? So I put it in Google Translate, and they say UFO. I go, oh, now that makes sense. Now
Hmm.
what I'm reading makes sense, because I had to kind of stop right there and go, wait, what? And I am so grateful for Google Translate. But it was so much. It was an enjoyable book. I thought it was going to be serious. Like a lot of science fiction books are more serious. This had
Hmm.
me laughing. He's just so entertaining in his writing. It's very, very, very enjoyable. But we're going to move on to our next segment, which is And I got some new podcasts, as well as some older favorites. La Última Fagra, The
Mhm.
Last Forge. They actually do a podcast about sci-fi books that they review, but all of the books they're reviewing them and they in Spanish, and they read. The actual podcast is in Spanish. So if you're interested in a Spanish speaking podcast of science fiction, they're the guys to go to. They're pretty fun, very enjoyable. Then we have The Gradient. The Gradient is a digital magazine covering research and trends in artificial intelligence and machine learning. On their podcast, they interview various people in the field of AI, ranging from researchers to participants and beyond. I actually listened to quite a few of their episodes, and they're a lot of fun. They make it enjoyable. It may seem like a dull topic, but they really know how to give you the information and keep you captivated. Then we
Mhm.
have this new one here, Jupiter Station, a Star Trek podcast. Okay, and this Jupiter Station is a Star Trek podcast. They bring original context from celebrities and expert interviews to episode reviews and the latest information. He does such a wonderful job interviewing these celebrities, these Star Trek celebrities. The reviews, the episodes are so much fun. Definitely go check them out. They're fairly new, and I think you guys would definitely enjoy that. Now, I don't know if you want to say something before I announce our next show, but we are getting to the end of our
Yeah.
episode. Anything you want to say?
I think it was a good. I think we had a good discussion tonight, and I thought it was awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Learn some new stuff.
Absolutely. That's what one of the things I love about Sarah. She embraces all the cultures that come her way, whether she's part of it or not. And I think that's something that's beautiful. And I want to publicly thank you for celebrating Hispanic heritage with
Oh
me.
yeah,
Um,
it's fun.
Now, yes. Now, our next episode, we're going to be reviewing Mortal Engine, and it's going to be on October 4th at
Mhm.
8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have a guest. She's a recurring guest, Kristen, and we're going to be definitely talking about this movie. And where is it again? That this movie they can
Um,
watch this movie? Is it Hulu?
I thought it was Hulu, but it changes all the time.
That's
Um,
for sure.
but I will find out where it is, and I'll let you know. Maybe you can make an announcement.
Oh yes, absolutely. I want to let people know where they can watch it without having to look up too much for them. So join us back here on October 4th to review Mortal Engine. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our new channel so that you can get notified when new videos come up. Thank you for watching.